Imagine being the most qualified human being alive to go to Jupiter. A decade of training, a flawless record, the best mind, the strongest body of your entire generation. Now, imagine the scientists pull you aside the night before launch and tell you a secret they haven't made public yet. You will be dead before you get there. Not from an accident, not from a malfunction. There's no dramatic explosion in this story. Just your body, the same body that passed every test ever designed, quietly destroying itself the moment you leave Earth. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. We already know this. The science isn't new. The data is sitting in NASA research papers right now, hiding in plain sight. We just don't talk about it. After this video, you will. Mars is far. Everyone knows that. But Jupiter? Jupiter is on a completely different scale of incomprehensible. At its closest approach to Earth, Mars sits roughly 55 million kilometers away. The journey takes 6 to 9 months. Jupiter, at its closest point to Earth, is 588 million kilometers away. That's over 10 times farther. But Jupiter doesn't stay at its closest point. On average, the distance is closer to 778 million kilometers. A one-way trip using the most optimistic current propulsion technology, not technology we have today, but technology we're theorizing about, would take between 2.5 to 3 years. One way, that's 3 years before you even begin thinking about the return journey. A complete round trip, accounting for orbital mechanics and planetary alignments, would last somewhere between 6 and 8 years in space. Let that sink in. 6 to 8 years. That's not a mission. That's a transformation. And the human body does not survive that transformation intact. Everything that happens to astronauts on the International Space Station, the bone loss, the muscle atrophy, the cardiac deterioration, the vision damage, every single one of those effects compounds over time. Not linearly, exponentially. And the ISS is 400 kilometers from Earth. Jupiter is 778 million. But before we even reach what happens to your body over 6 years, there's a problem that ends the mission far sooner. A problem that begins on day 1. Here on Earth, you are protected by an invisible shield. The planet's magnetosphere deflects the vast majority of high-energy particles streaming from the Sun and from deep space. Our atmosphere absorbs the rest. You never feel it. You never think about it. But remove that protection, and the universe reveals its true nature. It is a lethal, radiation-soaked void. Astronauts on a Mars mission receive roughly 870 to 1,200 millisieverts of radiation. That's already equivalent to getting over 600 CT scans across 2 to 3 years. Scientists consider this borderline acceptable, barely and only with significant health trade-offs. A Jupiter mission doesn't just exceed that threshold, it obliterates it. The farther you travel from Earth, the longer you spend exposed to galactic cosmic rays. High-energy particles originating from outside our solar system that no shielding material we possess can meaningfully stop. On a 6-year round trip to Jupiter, astronauts would absorb an estimated 3,000 to 5,000 millisieverts of radiation from deep space travel alone. That's a near-certain cancer sentence. Organ damage, neurological degradation, a decimated immune system. And this is before you account for the single most terrifying radiation source in the entire solar system: Jupiter itself. Jupiter is surrounded by the most powerful magnetosphere of any planet we know. It generates radiation belts that are exponentially more intense than Earth's Van Allen belts. The radiation environment around Jupiter is so severe that the spacecraft Juno, a machine, with no biological components, no flesh, no DNA, was specifically designed with a titanium radiation vault to protect its computers. Even with that shielding, Juno was carefully kept away from Jupiter's most intense radiation zones to preserve its electronics. Human tissue has no titanium vault. Studies of radiation effects show that exposure at Jovian levels would cause acute radiation syndrome within days of entering Jupiter's magnetosphere. We're talking about nausea, hemorrhaging, immune collapse, and cellular breakdown happening in real time, not as future cancer risk, but as immediate, catastrophic failure of the body. Mission simulations estimate that entering Jupiter's inner radiation belts without shielding orders of magnitude beyond anything we've built would be fatal within hours. But let's say we solve the shielding problem. Let's say engineers build something revolutionary. There's still the journey itself, 6 years of deep space exposure, and there is still what the human body does to itself in the absence of Earth. The International Space Station has been our greatest laboratory for understanding what space does to human beings. Astronauts spend 6-month rotations there and return requiring weeks of rehabilitation just to walk. Their bones have become porous, their muscles have wasted, their hearts have shrunk. And those are 6 months in low Earth orbit, still partially within Earth's protective magnetic field, with rescue always a possibility, with gravity just 400 kilometers below. Now multiply that deterioration across 6 years. The math is devastating. Bone density loss in weightlessness runs at approximately 1 to 3% per month. In 6 years of combined travel time to and from Jupiter, you're looking at a potential bone mass reduction of 70% or more. That number is not theoretical. It is an extrapolation of data we already have. The weight-bearing bones, hips, femurs, spine would be so fragile that returning to any gravitational environment would likely cause spontaneous fractures simply from the act of standing. Muscle atrophy follows the same trajectory. Current ISS protocols require astronauts to exercise for 2 hours every single day just to slow the deterioration. They cannot stop it. After 6 years, the leg muscles, core, and back would be functionally useless in Earth gravity. The astronaut's body would be structurally incapable of supporting its own weight. And then there's the heart. In weightlessness, the heart doesn't need to pump blood upward against gravity. Like any muscle that stops being challenged, it weakens. Astronauts already show up to 20% cardiac mass reduction on 6-month ISS stays. After 6 years, cardiologists estimate the heart could lose so much mass and contractile strength that reintroduction to Earth gravity would trigger immediate cardiac failure. The heart would simply not be strong enough to circulate blood against a 1G environment. Not weakened, not struggling, failing, but even if the bones held, even if the muscles somehow persisted, even if the heart survived, there is one more system being destroyed that gets far less attention, and it may be the most disturbing of all. We talk about the body. We don't talk enough about the brain. Studies on astronauts returning from long-duration space missions have revealed something that shook the scientific community. Measurable, structural changes to the brain itself. Not psychological wear from stress or isolation, though that is very real. Physical, anatomical changes to brain tissue. Fluid redistribution in microgravity causes cerebrospinal fluid to shift upward, increasing pressure on the brain and compressing key structures. NASA research on returning astronauts documented narrowing of the brain's central sulcus and reduction in white matter volume. Cognitive tests showed measurable declines in processing speed, working memory, and decision-making capability. even after astronauts had returned to Earth and partially recovered. On a 6-year Jupiter mission, these changes would not be temporary. They would be permanent. Add to this the psychological dimension. Jupiter is so far away that a radio signal, traveling at the speed of light, takes between 33 and 53 minutes to reach Earth, depending on orbital position. There is no real-time communication, no voice from mission control guiding you through a crisis, no hearing a family member's voice at the end of a hard day. You send a message, you wait an hour, you receive a response, for 6 years. Psychologists who study isolation at these timescales, using Antarctic research stations as a rough analogue, report that prolonged extreme isolation causes personality shifts, paranoia, emotional dysregulation, and in some cases, complete psychological breakdown. And Antarctica is on Earth. People go outside. They see seasons change. There is a sky. In the Jupiter mission, there is nothing. A metal tube, the same faces, the same walls. For 6 years. In the dark, let us imagine for a moment that a crew survives the radiation, the bone deterioration, the cardiac decline, the neurological changes, and the psychological unraveling of a 3-year journey to Jupiter's system. They arrive, they conduct their science, they complete their objective, and then they have to go home. The return journey takes another 3 years. 3 years during which every problem is worse because the body does not recover in space. The deterioration continues. The radiation continues. The isolation continues. By year 5, 6, 7. The crew is not the same people who launched. Not physically, not neurologically, not psychologically. The people who left Earth no longer exist in any functional sense. And when they finally re-enter Earth's atmosphere and land, if they land, the gravity that welcomes them home would feel like being crushed. For a body that has spent 6 years in microgravity, 1 g of gravitational acceleration would not feel like home. It would feel like a disaster. Bones that couldn't support the weight, a heart that couldn't pump against the pressure, a mind that barely recognized the horizon. Rehabilitation for ISS astronauts takes months, sometimes years. And they were only gone for 6 months. The brutal arithmetic is simple. A Jupiter mission does not return the astronauts who left. It returns their biological remnants. Scientists know all of this. The engineers at NASA know it. The researchers at ESA and JAXA know it. And yet Jupiter remains one of the most scientifically compelling destinations in the solar system. Its moon Europa almost certainly contains a liquid water ocean beneath its ice shell. The most promising candidate for extraterrestrial life anywhere we've looked. The irony is extraordinary. The place most likely to harbor life in our solar system is also the most lethal environment a human being could attempt to reach. This is why every credible Jupiter mission currently on the drawing board is robotic. Spacecraft like the upcoming Europa Clipper will do what humans cannot. They will endure the radiation. They will operate for years without psychological deterioration. They will not need their bones or their hearts. And perhaps that is the hardest truth of all. Jupiter is not waiting for us. It has been there for 4.5 billion years. It will be there for billions more. But the human body, in its current form, the same body that evolved in the sunlight and gravity of a small blue planet, is simply not built for the journey. The distance kills, the radiation kills, the weightlessness dismantles the body piece by piece. The isolation breaks the mind. Anyone who goes to Jupiter will not come back as a human being. The question is no longer whether we'll go. The question is whether we'll ever evolve or engineer ourselves into something that can. You haven't seen it explained like this anywhere else. Subscribe, because the next one is worse.